As usual, you are on mute. You are on mute.
All right, I am on mute for like the 100 millionth time
Yes.
today. But hi everyone, I'm Anuhya and this is Karan that I'm here with. And we're both super excited to be on stream. This is basically a stream for local hack day build. For those of you who are new, hello, welcome. For those of you who are returning from the previous stream, hello, it's me and Karan again. Unfortunately, he just changed his shirt. That's all that's changed. The
It's kind of
unfortunate
a
part is
note.
Karan here with me. But what were
No,
you
it's
saying?
it's kind of a note that I'm not going to wear the same swag shirt to any single broadcast. Multiple
Right,
broadcasts for LSU.
right. And it's
Got to
it's just
flex.
the fact that you are you have so much swag, right? That you are just
Got
so
to
good
flex
at.
it.
Right. You got to flex
Yep.
it. That's what that is.
Yep.
Um, but folks, basically, this is just a tech stream where we are building a project based on conversational AI, which is super exciting because this is something I'm fairly new to. NLP, NLU, NL. There's so many like different NLs. Natural language. That is the gist of it.
Yes.
But
That is the gist
basically,
of it.
I'm fairly new, but Karan here actually works for a company that does conversational AI called Dasha, which is why I was like, you want to come on stream with me? Because you're a pro on this, so why not? And we can talk tech and we could talk natural language processing and whatnot. Yes, NLP is super interesting. And we
It
are going to
is.
be working with a tool called Dasha. So, Karan, you want to tell me a bit about what you think about NLP? What are some cool things happening on that frontier thus far?
Honestly, you've in your day-to-day life, you've probably interacted with NLP at some point of time or the other. Have you ever done okay Google, okay Hey Siri, any of that stuff? Yeah, that's
My
that's
Google just
NLP.
activated. My Google just activated for that. Great.
Alexa, just making sure to trigger everybody's assistance.
Right.
Okay.
My brother uses Alexa, I use Google, but
There
yes.
you go.
My
So
entire house
yeah,
is a house, but it's completely connected to Google. So yes, you're right. We use NLP pretty much on a day-to-day basis. In fact, I turn my lights on with Google, which is very exciting because I built my entire smart home system from like lights to our washing machine to our TV to everything's connected, which sounds super cool. So yeah, we use NLP on a day-to-day basis. But yeah.
yeah, and I'm a huge smartphone and consumer tech geek. I've basically been following people like MKBHD
Mhm.
since I was in seventh grade, I want to say.
Wow.
And
Okay.
I think I still remember this one particular video that he put out, which basically was about Google Assistant and how the biggest update that they pushed out ever was when it gained the ability to understand questions from context, right?
Right.
So essentially, you would say, "Hey Google, who is Barack Obama?" Right?
Mhm.
And then Google would tell you, President of the United States, blah blah blah. How tall is he? The
Mhm.
second question, how tall is he? And then if you do that right now, it would give you Barack Obama's height. That
Yep.
wasn't the case for until a couple of years ago,
Mhm.
when you would have to specify exactly what you're asking in each question, right?
Mhm.
You would have to ask what is Barack Obama's height. It could not process context,
Yep.
and that kind of boils down to an improved natural language understanding,
Mhm.
NLU, and that's kind of what we're going to be talking about today
Yeah.
overall.
No, absolutely. And also a bit of a pause here. I see people asking, how can I check in? Yes, this is the link to check into this event, by the way. It should be building a giftable project tech stream. We're not really building a giftable project, but you can
Oh,
gift your
yeah,
own.
we could gift
You
it.
could, you can
Yeah,
have your mom call, like put your mom's phone number and have her receive a call and her talk to an AI. So why not? Yeah,
mhm,
you can totally gift this project.
yep.
But yeah. So, Karan, do you want to dive right into what we're going to be talking about today, which is about Dasha specifically?
Yeah, honestly, Anuhya said you said you want to do something about not with NLP, and I just figured why not, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, so what we're gonna try to be building today. We don't know whether we'll be successful or not, because as streams go, we haven't had exactly a great success rate, right?
Mhm.
What we're going to try to do today is kind of build an application that understands what you're trying to say to it, and then
Uh-huh.
give you something back in return.
Right.
Essentially, something, a voice trigger assistant of sorts.
Yeah. No, absolutely. It would be cool to build like a Blahage themed. I mean, everything at local hack day has to be Blahage themed, right?
It has to be cardinal rule.
Yes, it is a rule. Hold on, let me see. Oh, let me remove that real quick. And that way I can present this. No, absolutely. I think Alexa switch on Shaker's funny bone. I love that. I made it. Yes. And
Okay, I don't know how to react to that.
and folks, you can also use this to build in your local hack day project this week if you wanted to, especially because you're building and you're learning, and you can make anything. You can literally integrate conversational AI into pretty much anything, right? Anything that you like. It's like Twilio in a way, where
Pretty much.
Twilio you pretty much integrate into anything that you want to send a message to, right? So similarly, you can use Dasha to integrate it into pretty much anything, and like just have a little phone number that you want to call to or something of that nature, and have an AI pick up that phone. So to
Pretty
start
much,
off,
yes.
yeah. So to start off with, let's just talk about conversational AI like we did thus far. Do you have anything to add about conversational AI as well, Shrikar, besides what we just talked about?
Right. There's just one quote that I really, really like that I would throw in, that I would like people to keep in mind when we're going through this. And it is that the efficacy or the usefulness of any assistant, any voice-based application, is determined by how much you need to pretend to be a robot in order to interact with it.
Got it. That might help me get through FedEx's hotline every time I lose my my stupid package. Literally, I hate those AIs. I'm not even joking. And I mean, I'm talking about, yeah, let's build an AI. But realistically, when you get put on that AI, you're just like, God damn, can I just talk to a person, please? So I think when we understand more about how to build better AIs, we can really resolve that situation where we run into and we're just
Hopefully,
like,
yeah.
put me on to a human, right? So what is conversational AI? We'll talk about that as we have thus far. We'll talk about applications and use cases. And then finally, we'll go play on the Dasha playground and build our own version of an AI, of a conversational AI. So
Sounds like a
actually,
plan.
you want to take a second to talk about Dasha here, Shrikar?
Yeah, sure. So Dasha is essentially a conversational AI as a service platform. And what that means is you basically don't need to be an AI engineer or a machine learning engineer to get started with this. All you need to know is a little bit of JavaScript, and that's all it takes. You get started within 20 lines of JavaScript, which is kind of what makes it perfect for LHD, isn't it? We're not trying to deep dive into stuff here. We're just trying to get people introduced to cool little technologies. And honestly, it's just really, really easy to get started with. So we've got some links up here. Anuhya, where can they find this after the stream?
This stuff you can find here. How about I just share my slide deck here with you all right now? There isn't much of a slide deck here, but you're more than welcome to take a look at the presentation. There aren't much slides on this, but yes, you are more than welcome to take a look at it. And let me, yep. And so, yeah, there.
So I'm assuming you threw it up on chat. All right. Yes. Perfect.
Yeah, it's up on chat.
Yeah. Wonderful. Let me just make sure. Yes. Wonderful. Okay. So yeah, we've got some pretty good documentation. We've got some video tutorials. We've got some blogs. We've got some samples. I would recommend you check out the samples, because honestly, it's an app that you can just start messing around with. And isn't that the best way to get started with something? You don't really have to start from scratch. We've done the hard work for you. All you need to do is kind of tinker with the applications and make them your own. So I would recommend starting there. But yeah, just some useful
Absolutely.
links.
And I think that's what we're going to be doing today. We'll be doing a lot of tinkering along the way, as I'm fairly new to all this, and I'll be learning with all of you as well about Dasha and just how to use NLP in general. Sorry, I lost the tabs for a second. Everything just went completely MIA on my computer. So, do you want to walk us through the Dasha, like just the environment and the platform itself as well, Grant? Or do you want
Okay, yeah. I'm not going to do a deep dive into the architecture because that's kind of, let's just say it's out of syllabus for just a live stream to get started with it.
Yeah.
But essentially, we've got a couple of places that you can interact with Dasha. Ideally, we want you to install the SDK and interact on VS Code because then you get access to the visual editor. You can take a look at your entire conversation flow and then tweak it in a nice little interface. But that takes quite a bit of setup, and there's a saying that goes, you need to lower the net before you can expect someone to jump.
Right.
And that's a badminton / volleyball / net sport kind of, yeah. Just for a little bit of context, but essentially, in case you don't want to go through all of that pain, you've got playground.dasha.ai. I can throw a link up in the chat.
And we'll actually be using that playground right now as well. But yeah, no, we have some cool use cases like we were talking about. I think the most known one is like customer service, e-commerce, just really anything that you want someone that you can automate talking to a human, right? You could just really recreate that human talking situation in any like particular project, or literally you can use it to, I don't know, like you can call a number and have it like tell your schedule, and you can ask it like, hey, what room is it in? And it'll tell you what room it is in, right?
That's interesting because I built that use case out.
I love it.
So yeah.
No, I think it's very right. And I think even with like just having that hotline number that you could just call to get information, I think is how I see it the most useful, and not just really like claims and those sorts of things. I mean, that's not what I don't work in insurance, so I'm more likely to use it for like a special use case, or I don't know, checking out how many points does my guild have at local hack day blahage.
That is actually a pretty interesting use case, yeah.
Right.
So if someone wants to build that out, that would be pretty sick.
Right. So Karan, you're gonna help me build that out, right?
That's a little far-fetched for a live stream.
Yeah, absolutely. No, but we could definitely talk about how one would build that out on the Dasha Playground. So let me go ahead and go to Playground.
I'm just gonna go out on a limb here and assume that none of us here are trying to start an insurance business. I hope.
Yes.
But yeah, honestly, the reason we're even doing this stream is because it's just something you can integrate into any hack, right? Whenever you don't want to use your phone, whenever you don't want to have visual contact or tactile contact with any of your applications, you use voice.
Yeah.
So yeah, Playground is something you can just tap into for a couple of seconds. All you need to do is enter your phone number.
Right.
Do I need health insurance? That depends. If I'm in the US, then yes. But
yes. And hey, Adam, how are you? We're gonna be more serious on this stream. That's my goal. Not make it into another mini event here. For who are new on this,
we're gonna be able to do that, but we can try. We can keep on.
We have been doing great thus far, Karan. I think we've been doing great thus far. There has not been a single proper roast, and there has not been an exit. There has not been a Zoom call yet. I think we're good. We're doing great thus far. For those of you who have no context of what I'm talking about, just about like 30 minutes ago, we were on a really fun stream for the local Hack Day mini event stream, where it was extremely chaotic, but turned out to be an awesome time where we were learning about physics and how to play with line writer that turned into a conversation about glucose, Born-Meta, Complan, and whatnot, and Adam sipping tea and giving us TSMR. So that is not what the stream is going to be about. So, hey guys and mentors, how are you doing? Absolutely well. All right, you want to get started with the program? Go ahead.
Okay, yeah, sure.
No, you were
I
saying
think it's
something.
sad that nobody. I think it's sad that nobody wants to know how the coaches are doing, or rather, coach is doing.
I
But
think I consider as yeah, no, you're right. Yeah, sensational Subham. Oh, is that Subham? Like Subham from MLH? Wait, why aren't you asking me how I'm doing as a coach? Is that like
someone's asking
Subham
in chat.
from MLH?
Someone's taken our feedback and is asking in chat. So
Got it.
yeah,
My
at least
mentor's
there's that.
coach. Got it. Wait, I'm
Right,
curious
okay.
still. Is this Subham like the same Subham from MLH or oh it is. Yay, hello, hi.
Oh, okay.
I
Interesting.
think it is. I think Subham's last name is Bansal. No, Sajal's last name is Bansal. Sorry. Subham's last name is
You know what?
Bhatt.
This should be an MLH stream. This should be a mini event.
Yeah.
Coach or
Yes.
not coach?
Coach or not coach? Yes. Do you remember Subham Bansal, Shikarn?
In my defense, I know about 20 Shubhams.
Fair.
I don't remember your last name, but I do remember every single Shubham I've met. So
Wow. What a sly way to get around that.
yes. Not that you had to call me out on that.
I know, right? I know. All right. Back to the Dasha playground here. So let's go ahead and do a quick walkthrough. So just for those who might be willing to follow along or want to follow along, feel free to just ask us questions throughout this about conversational AI, about Karan and myself. We both are considerably like DevRels. I work in crypto. He works in conversational AI. But we both love communities and that's what we do. So we love doing this stuff. But yes. All right. So list of Dasha demo apps. So here you can take a look at a bunch of demo apps. And then this is where we actually can talk on Dasha or through the web port. And then this is where we can see all the logs that are happening, everything that happens behind this that I don't really care about, to be honest. Or should I be caring about that?
You should. I think you should.
Okay, got it.
Ideally, you would want to know if your application is blowing up. But if you're like Anuhya and you don't care about that, then yeah, don't worry about it.
I do care about that. Got it. So I am caring about this.
Yes.
Next, you have all these various files, which basically Dasha is actually meant to be run in VS Code or just really any other non-Dasha web application based. So here, like this is not ideal for us to do actually deploy an application for Dasha.
Pretty much, yes.
Yeah. So this is just for us to play around with today and really get an understanding for what is conversational.
Could you please zoom in a little bit?
Yes,
we have a question. Could you please zoom in a little bit?
Absolutely. Better?
Yeah, should be.
Is it?
I mean, I have a pretty large screen as well, so.
Yeah, no, same.
Not
So
the best person to give you feedback.
yeah.
Yeah, but I think this looks decent. Yeah.
All right, great. So these are all the following files that we'll be talking or using today. Any new files that we'll be adding to this, Karan, while we are in the playground?
Not really, because this is pretty much all you need is to get started. Oh my God, I've lost my ability to do English. But yes, this is pretty much all you'll need to get started. Now,
right.
I mean, if you're at a hackathon and you're kind of building something, I'm hoping you're building something at a hackathon. You would ideally want this to be an add-on, or you would want this to be an interface to interact with your application. It's not really meant to be something that you build your entire application on, right? So you would ideally want. I think that's a little too zoomed in.
Hold on.
We do want to be able to see more than one line. Just saying.
I think we're fine.
Aye.
Don't mimic me. Don't mimic me. But yes. So, do you want to walk us through what each one of these files does within the Dash application? Yeah.
But to just complete the train of thought, because I forget very quickly. If you're at a hackathon, you ideally want to be integrating this with your hack as an interface to interact with it, instead of just using Dasha, because then it'll be a conversation with no memory, which honestly, it might be a fun conversation.
Mhm.
Based on my conversations with Adam, I do know they can be fun.
Mhm.
But yeah, you ideally want to integrate this into another application.
Right.
But
Exactly.
yeah, let's,
Yeah.
like I said, ideally we're not, we don't need to be, ML engineers, machine learning engineers to
Right.
get started using conversational AI. And that's kind of what we have here. We just have a bunch of JSON files, a config file, which is basically the app.dasha app. It's nothing more than a
Mhm.
config file with a couple of pointers to other files. And we've got the main.dsl, which is essentially the conversation flow, right? So let's kind of start at the right end
Uh-huh.
with index.js.
Okay.
So, like I said, we're ideally going to be integrating this with another application, right? So, index.js is kind of where you would have index.js is kind of where you would have your external functions, is where you would have your interface between your Dasha application and your actual hack, right?
Mhm.
So that's just a place for you to give inputs to the file to actually get Dasha running as a function and to
Right.
get outputs and process them, right?
Right.
And in fact, there's something fun that I like to do because I'm not a huge fan of JavaScript. What I
Okay.
generally do is just use JavaScript to run the application and
Okay.
then offload everything to a Flask API built in Python. So that too is a possibility.
Okay.
It's all about how creative you can get.
So I guess at this moment, I want to ask, what is the coolest thing you've built on the Dasha application thus far, or what you think is believed to
The
be the
coolest thing I've built or the coolest thing I've seen built?
okay? You've seen built and you've built both.
Okay, coolest thing I've built would probably be um, my calendar application. I for the last for the last 2 years, I've basically lived off my calendar. If
Mhm.
something does not exist on my calendar, it's not happening in real life, right?
Right.
And I every morning when I get up at 11 a.m. because I'm up streaming at 3 a.m.
Mhm.
I want to know what I've got in store for my day, right? And
Right.
what happens is whenever I wake up, I can give Dasha a call.
Mhm.
I can have Dasha give me a call and walk me through what I have for the day. All of the meetings, who I need to be talking to, the tasks
Mhm.
I need to get done by the end of the day, the habits I've got scheduled for the day.
Right.
Basically, an entire life planner
Uh-huh.
on a daily basis. So yeah, that's probably the coolest thing I've built. It's not very cool to someone who doesn't use a calendar, so it's a very specific application.
Mhm.
But yeah, as for the coolest use case that I've seen built, this is actually pretty dope. So at a hackathon, I saw someone use Dasher to build essentially a map. If you've ever used Google Maps or Apple Maps or something like that, you know it gives you the shortest distance to some route, right? To from A
Uh-huh.
to B, right? The shortest path. What if instead, in a high crime rate area,
Mhm.
like maybe New Delhi,
Mhm.
you had a map that would give you the safest route between A and B, right?
Okay.
So what I saw someone do was basically plot crime rate data on a map
Mhm.
of on a Google map of Delhi,
Okay.
and it would give you the safest route between points A and B on the basis of where crimes tend to occur a lot, right?
Oh, okay. And where did the
You might
conversation
be
like?
thinking, where does Dasha come into this?
Yeah.
Yeah, this is the really cool part. When ideally when you're traveling through said path, if
Mhm.
you run into a sticky situation, you can have an SOS button through which Dasha will call you, right?
Mhm.
Dasha will call you. It'll start chit chatting randomly. It'll start a random conversation, and you've got a preset kind of safe word, right? Let's say I want pizza. You say
Mhm.
that, and it's got a list of contacts that it's going to call and mention that you're kind of in a sticky situation, and then give
Oh,
them your location.
I love that. Wow, that is impressive. That is so cool. Okay. That is awesome.
Rather
And
than just text
yeah,
something in
right.
which the notification could comfortably be lost,
Mhm.
call them.
Yeah.
That's
No,
kind of it really struck me as a really, really cool use case.
yeah, definitely. And I think there are a lot of applications these days that are being built around like public safety. And that means, right? Like traveling alone and having that quick response from close family, friends, and whatnot. That's awesome. Is there a Git repo for this project specifically?
There is. I don't have it pulled up right now, so I could probably share it post stream.
Huh?
Could I? Do you want me to share it post stream?
Yes, share with me post stream, and I'm happy to like drop it in the Discord channel eventually post stream. Yeah, if people are interested.
Yeah, I'm sure they'd love a shout out.
I don't know if people are interested. I would presume if I'm interested, I would think that other people are interested. But then again, you don't know what my interest levels are like in certain things. But yes. So going back to the playground itself, we've talked about the index.js file. So the main is where everything kind of comes together, right? It's like the wiring box of literally everything is wired together. So do you want to walk through the code that we see here, or do you want to walk through a different
this
planes or?
So no, blank slate works. It's the simplest application that you can get started with. It's literally two bits of conversation and then the call gets cut, right? So there's a couple of things. We're going to use main.dsl as an index, not to be confused with index.js, as kind of a syllabus to walk through what we're going to be learning today. Right. So the first line that you'll see is import common reactions /all.dsl, right? And what common reactions is essentially any little common scenario that you might come across in real life when you're talking to someone. So, for example, hey, I missed that. Could you repeat it? Right? Or what did you say? Stuff like that. DSL, right? I see a question from Wei. Pretty good question. What language is DSL written in? DSL is called Dasha scripting language, and it also happens to stand for domain-specific language, right? So it was created specifically for the use case of conversational AI, because we wanted a comfortable way for people to interact with their voice applications.
Right.
So yeah, it mimics JavaScript and TypeScript a lot, and it's got some really nice features, but it's maybe like a 5-minute learning diversion to kind of get used to DSL.
Got it. Cool. Nice.
So yeah.
So if one knows they understand DSL, correct? Because I'm able to understand DSL and I only know Python really, and I guess a bit of Java, but
yeah, DSL is a short walk away from TypeScript, let's just say.
Okay, got it. Cool. So we've talked about common reactions and what common reactions are. So here we're talking about input endpoints and some variable strings. So what is this context that you're building here?
Right. So again, we're going to touch back to Dasha or conversational AI in general, just being an interface for your application. We want to remember that it's just a way for you to communicate with your application. It doesn't need to be the end all be all, right?
Right.
So context is kind of where you create a link between the rest of your application and your voice interface. So in your context, you basically give it all of the input variables that you're going to be taking in, all of the data that Dasha needs to run a successful conversation for your use case. In this case, it's someone's name. Let's say we're pulling this from a database. We're pulling a list of names from a database, and calling them and asking them how they are. Small, tiny, stupid little use case, but it's great. It's a great way to get started learning, right?
Right.
So we've got endpoint. Endpoint must always be declared. It's kind of let's just say it's convention. For now, I don't want to deep dive into this.
Okay.
But it is in general you're just declaring all of the variables that you're going to be using, that you're going to be taking as input, and you're going to be giving as output.
Okay.
Does that make sense? All of the conversation data points that you'll be returning back to your application comes out of the outputs.
Okay, got it. And next up we have the do's, and so do you want to talk about do's and like external functions and whatnot?
Yeah. So external function is essentially like it's pretty self-explanatory. It is an external function. So until a couple of weeks ago, you couldn't really make HTTP requests straight from Dasha. So for something simple like that, or to generate random numbers, if you want to do that in the middle of a conversation, right? you would use an external function. You would define that in index.js, and when you basically start, when you look at the DSL, you're pulling that external function in so that it can be used by Dasha in the process of interacting with whoever it is you're talking to, right?
Right.
So if you hop over to index.js real quick, yeah, you see the first 3 lines, app.set external, some external function. That's basically the definition for your external function that you're pulling into DSL.
Got it.
So stuff that you can do in JavaScript, but not necessarily in DSL.
Right. Got it.
Make sense?
Yep. And so this particular node here is starting off with it's like the start node. It's what the user is greeted with, right?
Yeah. Let's touch on what nodes are for a second. Your conversation, think of it like a linked list, right? Anytime, if you've dealt with a linked list before, you know a linked list has a bit of data, and it has a pointer to either the next element or the previous element or both, right? Depending on whether it's a singular linked list or doubly linked list. I digress, which is going to come into the picture, funnily enough. But yeah, so a node is essentially any point of time in a conversation when some action is going on. That's the simplest terms I can put it in, right?
Right.
And in a node, let's say we have a node for greeting, right? The Dasha would essentially greet you in the process of executing that node. And then based on what you give back to Dasha, based on what you say to Dasha, it'll essentially execute a transition.
Right.
Now, what are transitions? They're just links between. So we have someone asking for a second link. Anuhya, can you throw that up?
Yeah.
Yeah. So transitions are essentially a way for you to let the conversation flow from node to node. So so now let's say Dasha greets a user, and then the user basically says, "Hi there, I would like some pizza," right? Dasha could recognize that, and on the basis of the fact that you just said you wanted to order something, it could transition to another node that is designed to help you process an order. Did that make sense?
Yep. So it's like if you go on a tangent, right? And it's like, oh, I want to order. I don't want to talk to you. I don't want to hear you talk to me. I just want to get straight to the point. You're digressing into that.
You can set up multiple transitions to other nodes on the basis of intents and entities. Now we're getting into a little bit of the nitty-gritty. Bear with me, folks. If you have any questions, please feel free to post it in chat. I am here. Anuhya is here to answer your questions. But yeah, so intents and entities are kind of the building blocks of any sort of natural language processing. And as you can probably understand from the names, intents are essentially what a user intends to have the conversational AI do, or what the user intends to have the application do. So let's say the user says, "I want to order pizza," right? That I want to order, that is an intent right there, right? So you detect that as an intent, and on the basis of that, you can execute some function that you've already set up. If you want to hop over to data.json, that will kind of, yeah. So data.json is where you would define your intents and entities. So like I just mentioned, you can probably see here, we've got a couple of intents, right?
Yep.
What's your advice and maybe courses to deep dive into this topic? That's a really good question. Anuhya, say I give you some links for this to post into announcements once the stream is done?
Yeah, no, absolutely. I'm happy to do that. Once the stream is done so that you can find the links and everything. But I definitely think if you have access to LinkedIn, Linda is a really good place to learn about NLP. Like that's where I first got a good briefing of it. Same with Coursera, things like that. There's and also forget all that YouTube, man. Like there's so much content out there on YouTube, and even about Dasha specifically. There's a lot of even I'm pretty sure current speaking live stream. There's a lot of videos, demo videos, things like that. even what we're doing right now. So I definitely recommend just exploring out there. Google NLP on YouTube,
Pretty
and
much.
you're good. Like that's pretty much it. And you can
Pretty much,
go
yes.
on a black hole of NLP deep dive. But yes.
Yeah, it's an interesting rabbit hole to go down.
Yeah.
But yeah, so if you honestly want one recommendation from me, it would probably be deeplearning.ai. It was founded by Andrew Ng. I don't know how to pronounce the last name, so I'm just going to call him Andrew Ng. But yeah, so if you head over to deeplearning.ai, they've got a bunch of courses on everything from beginners machine learning to natural language processing to honestly, my brain freeze. Forget it. You've got some really nice AI courses there.
And that is you said deeplearning.ai, correct? And also
Yes.
by the way, like I'm pretty sure AWS also does really good for Alexa. There's so many resources around NLP within like the Alexa ecosystem, or well, Amazon ecosystem for that matter.
In fact, if I remember correctly, Udacity has a pretty good scholarship for deep learning on AWS, machine learning on AWS, and it's a pretty good course I've heard to go through if you want to learn more about AI in general.
And I also think
Right.
like there's so many resources, I can keep listing them, but I even know that I think University of London or like University, I think Harvard or London, one of them has like a whole course out there that you can do, like because they post all their lectures online on deep learning and just NLP in general. So there's a plethora of resources out there. If you just do a quick Google search, you'll find so many of them. But yeah.
CS50.
No,
Yes.
That doesn't talk about deep learning.
There
That's
is
just like
no. There is
there
a
is?
CS50 AI track.
Okay.
So let me just Google that. CS50 AI. I'll post a link in chat. There is CS50's introduction to artificial intelligence with Python.
Okay.
There you go. CS50 is kind of the
CS50 is just like I was under the impression the intro to Python.
It has multiple tracks now.
Okay, got it. Well, CS50 overall, it's a great. You should definitely take a look at it. I look at it just for fun. My younger brother, definitely has learned from there as well. I think it's why not? Even if you don't understand what you're like listening to, I think it's worthwhile watching it over and over again until you get the hang of it. That's what I like told my younger brother to do for a while.
And CS50 just became so popular that it's not just AI. They've got a CS50 track for web dev. They've got a CS50 track separately for Android dev. And honestly, it's a great way to get into it.
Yeah.
And I see some folks in chat.
I think not even just like for computers. Like, oh, sorry. I was going to say not just for like AI or for those specific tracks. Just look at CS50 in general. There's so much you can learn for computer science related topics from CS50. So there's my little go check out CS50 rant right there. But back to the playground. So we were talking about intents and like includes and excludes.
So yeah, with intents, you're essentially trying to, this comes under NLU, right? Your natural language understanding. You're trying to understand what the speaker is saying at any given point of time. And anything, if you think about it, anything that you say can kind of be split into intents and entities. You either intend to do something, so verbal verbs and action words and stuff like that. And you usually name some stuff, right?
Right.
Name and describe some stuff, which is which basically falls under the category of entities, right? So what to define kind of intents in Dasha, you would give it a title, which is what you see in blue on the playground here. All of those are titles. If you want to scroll up, scroll all the way up.
All the way up.
So yes, right there is a title for an intent, right?
Got it.
And you essentially tell Dasha, listen, if someone says this, yes, correct, sure, absolutely, yes, Siri Bob, right, yeah, any of that stuff, you got to interpret it as yes, right? and you're just
Yeah.
giving it some examples. Of course, we have a model in the back end that trains to kind of extrapolate beyond that as well,
Mhm.
to kind of figure out what you're trying to say at any given point of time.
Sorry, loading.
Oopsie.
But yes, I think, hold on. I love how Dasha Playground pulls up Playground Song with Dad. All right, it's loading. I don't know why it's not going anywhere. Hold on. Ah, there we go. That's weird. My computer's being really slow right now. Well, in the meantime, what's your favorite playground experience, Shrikar? All right, there you go.
Oh,
Before you get to answer that.
But yeah.
Yeah.
So you're essentially giving it a title and telling it, listen, if you see this, interpret it as this and extrapolate on that. And excludes is essentially, as you can probably tell, under excludes, you tell what not to interpret as yes for whatever intent it is that you're defining, right? So
Right.
if if someone says, oh, hell no, you definitely don't want Dasha to interpret that as yes.
Right.
And the thing with machine learning is that it is kind of a black box, right? And if you don't give it enough training samples, any AI for that matter, not just Dasha, it's gonna run into some trouble. So under the right circumstances, if you say, "Oh hell no," Dasha could interpret it as yes, and that kind of drives home a couple. While we're on the topic, I just want to drive home a couple of points about building with this, which is that one, whenever you're giving examples for includes and excludes, you want to make sure you're giving entire phrases and not just words, right? Because the longer the phrase is, the easier it is going to be for Dasha to assign an intent or an entity to it and then extrapolate from that.
Right. So
And
you're training it more to understand like different phrases, and it gets with it. Yeah.
And the more training phrases, you give Dasha, the more accurate it's going to be. More phrases, more accuracy, basically. Yeah. And the third thing is that whenever you're working with it, I've found that it really helps to think of it as an iterative process, because I can guarantee you're probably not going to deploy an end-to-end conversational application in your first try. Generally, what we see people doing is they build out an application, and then it has a number of places where conversations can fall through or go in unexpected directions. And what you do is you run hundreds and hundreds of conversations on that, especially when you're dealing with a production environment. You would run hundreds and hundreds of conversations. You would try to figure out where it goes wrong, and then you would come back and iterate over what you just built. Give it more data in the right places. Maybe you need some more intents. Maybe you need to
iterative
define
testing process, basically. It's just making sure, right.
Isn't all building iterative?
False positives and things like that also matter, correct? Right.
100%. Yeah.
And I think, oh my God, why does it keep doing that? Okay, here we are. I need to learn how to use a mouse. That's what that is.
Yeah, if you're having too much trouble with your computer, feel free to send it to me. I'm willing to accept donations at any point of time.
My computer, this gorgeous iMac that I'm obsessed with.
Yes,
that
gorgeous iMac that you're obsessed with.
Yes.
Yes.
No, I love this computer. I would give my life up before I give this thing up. No, this M1 chip is amazing. I'm not kidding. If anyone's looking for a new computer, by the way, go get an iMac with the M1 chip. Totally worth it.
Hashtag not sponsored.
Huh?
Hashtag not sponsored.
Hashtag not sponsored at all. Definitely, I wish I was sponsored. Lord help me. I would be talking about Apple 24/7.
Pretty much.
So we've talked about data, we've talked about intents and such. So should we start just playing with it then, Karan? In the last couple minutes, we have only 9 minutes left, but
yeah, it is a rabbit hole, and honestly, if you let me start talking about it, you'll probably never hear me stop. But we just want to cover one or two more really important things.
Yeah.
if you look at the flow of any conversational AI application you build, it's probably going to go something like you have speech that is being fed in from the user into the application that gets converted to text using speech to text processing software, right? STTs. Because in general, it's far more easy to deal with natural language processing when it's in text format than when it's in speech, right? A lot less variables.
Right.
And once you've got the speech to text done, you would then pass it on to natural language understanding, NLU, to kind of make sense of what the user has said. You would extract the intents and the entities from it, and then kind of piece together what the user is trying to get done, right?
Right.
And then you would dump it into DSL. That's where the DSL, the conversation flow, kicks in. Once you've understood what they want to do, you execute something on top of that. You transition from one node to another. You go to a digression, which I will cover in a second.
Oh, that's right. We still covered digressions because we've had so many digressions. Please, that was something.
On this episode of Horrible Puns with Anuhya. But
yeah,
that was good. That was good. I'll give you that one. It was a low-hanging fruit, but you executed it well.
Thank you. But continue.
The last stream was a digression. Yes, it was.
That is very true.
Not
Also,
lie.
while we're on topic of this, does the iMac work with all the coding softwares and apps? For the ones that I use, yes, it works fairly well. And also, I just have dual.
Your mileage may vary though. With the M1 chip, it is a little bit of a hit or miss. Some things don't compile. A lot of things get put through Rosetta.
But also, I just use a dual boot and I use Parallel, so it works well. I just use Windows.
Okay.
Yeah. So
that works on the M1 now? Dual boot with Windows works on the M1 now?
I haven't done it on this computer, so maybe I can't speak to it. I have it on my laptop, which is what I use.
Exactly.
So, like my other.
Guessing that's an Intel Mac, right?
Or
if that's an Intel Mac, then it'll work on it. Yeah.
Yeah, I think you're right. Yes, maybe I need to double check because I mean parallels exist for a reason.
We're digressing.
Digressing. Let's go back.
We digress. But yeah. So essentially, when you're in the DSL, you execute something based on what the user is trying to say, and once you know what you've done, what you're going to do, and you've done it, once you've executed that, you want to communicate that to the user, right? And that's where we hit NLG, natural language generation, right? And natural language generation is covered in phrasemaps.json, which, phrasemaps.json. I was trying to find phrasemaps.json until I realized, we're sitting in it right now. So think of phrasemaps.json as the inverse of what we just saw in data.json, right?
Right.
So instead of giving it titles and then asking it to deduce intents from it, you're giving it titles and then giving it formats in which it can generate natural language.
Right.
If that makes sense, right? So you could say, look, I want you to generate language in this pattern where you give someone a greeting and then you say their name and then you say, how are you doing? Or can you hear me? Essentially create patterns to talk to people, right? So that's kind of what natural language generation does. And then we would do text to speech because NLG gives you text output, and then you would do text to speech. Now, speech to text and text to speech are completely abstracted with Dasha. You don't have to worry about it at all, right? So as long as you can design the rest of the app, you're good to go.
Got it.
I think the last thing we need to cover is really digressions in the main.dsl. So
where is the first speaker?
Yeah. So essentially, whenever you have a conversation with someone, I'm pretty sure it never goes according to plan, right? You're gonna think, okay, I'm gonna go into this interview, right? I'm gonna crush it. I'm gonna ask them for $100,000. I'm gonna ask for a raise. I'm gonna ask them to give me some new equipment, and I'm gonna get it, and I'm gonna come out. But then once you go to the interview, they give you a gotcha, right? Any conversation goes like that. You cannot expect it to follow a set pattern, which means you also need to be ready to answer some questions in any transition between any two nodes.
Right.
Me starts a conversation, social anxiety. Oh no, you don't.
Hi.
Yeah, get out the memes. But I'm really sorry. Give me 1 second.
Sure. Yeah, but I think it would be a good time for us to. Karan will pick up on digressions shortly after, but I want to run a quick demo on Dasha.
Yeah, let's honestly, yes.
We'll dive into doing it. So here, allow.
Hi there, Anuhya. Can you hear me?
No, I cannot.
You will excuse me if I find that highly unlikely. After all, you responded to me and I can hear you just fine. Peace out.
Okay, so that's a solid response, I think.
We built some sass into it.
I know, lots of sass in that response. I also really find it interesting to see how it says no is like 100. Like, does that mean that Dasha's 100% sure that
Yep,
exactly
right.
Got it.
Right.
Mm,
So
got it.
generally, whenever you're working on machine learning applications, you have an accuracy percentage, right?
Mhm.
It's a classification problem at the end of the day. You're trying to figure out. You're taking what someone said, and you're classifying it between the different intents and entities that you have.
Right.
Right. And if you know anything about a classification problem, it essentially tries to match it to all of the intents, and then the highest percentage match between any of them is what it takes to be true.
Right.
In this case, because you said no outright, it kind of understands very easily that is 100% no. If you were to say something like, yeah, no, but also yeah, stuff like that, as Anuhya tends to do in conversation,
Yes.
that really won't work. So
Yes.
now that we've kind of gone through a demo application, let's just cover maybe the customer feedback survey or the insurance claims.
Sure.
Because that's a little bit more of an involved. Or do we have the time for that? Because
yeah, we do. We have a couple more minutes that we can go over. We can go over like another 5 minutes. Not an issue.
But yeah, so you can give Dasha your number here. You can just run it through.
Hello, thank you for calling Acme Insurance Claims Helpline. My name is Dasha. I will be your artificially intelligent agent today. Can you please introduce yourself? Sorry, I didn't quite catch that.
I didn't say honestly.
I'm sorry. Let me transfer you to another agent. Please stand by.
So
yeah.
Hi. But so let me go ahead and edit this phrase map to be more local hack day themed here.
Instead of that, you know what would be easier for a hacky project? Head over to main.dsl.
Okay.
Head over to the blank slate app and then main.dsl.
Oh, yes.
That's the easiest to work with in general, right?
Okay.
Because it is essentially a blank slate.
Blank slate, right. So
no, head to main.dsl. And you essentially have look at line 25.
Here would do.
You want to make that state text because when you use the say function, it essentially tries to borrow from phrase map.
Got it. So say text, hello, friendo.
You want to put it in brackets?
Got it. And
say text does not support parameters or anything like that.
Okay.
You want to put it in parentheses, Anuhya?
Oh, you said brackets.
Yeah, parentheses, brackets.
They're two different things.
Well, Indians just call everything brackets. So
I got it. Hello, friendos. How I want to know feedback.
Zeros.
Oh, well, got it. There you go. Friendos, how has your local hack day experience been so far? So actually, can we do the customer feedback survey instead and edit this? Because this is more asking, I want to ask a user or a hacker customer feedback or local hack day feedback in this instance. What would you recommend for that?
I would recommend for now, because we're running up on time, I would just recommend trying something out and showing people how this works with the blank slate. Had we sort of compressed this, and had we not digressed, we would be at 45 minutes now, and we would have been able to do that. But it is what it is. Aye.
Stop saying I, my friend. Okay. Not fair.
And what do you want to? No. This won't work. So what you want to do is, because only the say function really accepts parameters. Say text will literally say exactly what you tell it to.
Got it. So then this would work.
Might be a fun use case for.
Hello, friendos. How has your local hack day been thus far? Could you say it one more time? I'm sorry. Let me transfer you to another agent. Please stand by.
Yeah, that's
Got
the thing.
Okay, I see. So it just goes directly into
not a trial and error.
Right. Got it. Interesting. So then how would it fix that? Oh my God, my Discord is blowing up.
So, as it does.
But yes,
but
continue.
Essentially what happened here was that we moved from the say API to the say text function, right? The say function to the say text function. But what we didn't do was tell Dasha what to do after the say text function. In this case, when we use the say function, it essentially, okay, let me point this out. It's going to be a little bit more difficult since we're up on time to kind of fix this right here on stream. But I can kind of walk you through what went wrong here, right?
Yeah.
So when you gave it the say function, that essentially had a parameter that allowed you to specify the name, right? And then when you told it to wait and execute all transitions, it headed over to the transition section for that node and kind of tried to wait for you to say something and then grab an intent from that. But because you switch to the say text API, it does not do that. It's a little more complicated.
Okay,
right?
so if I, in this situation, what would I do for it to have a reply or wait for a reply?
You would essentially ask for it to wait for speech, essentially.
Okay, got it.
So yeah.
But it says wait. We're up on time. I'm not going to keep going. But this when the context
in another 5 minutes, I'm pretty sure Ryan's going to show up here.
No, I think actually there isn't another stream for a bit longer, so I think we're fine. So should not be an issue if you want to take a couple more minutes, or we can totally just.
Yeah, I think we've already given people enough of a information overload for one session.
Yes. So I think we will hop on for now. But sorry, go ahead.
I genuinely hope I was able to kind of help you all figure out how to use Dasha in a live stream.
Yeah,
and how you could potentially integrate Dasha with an application that you're using.
Yeah.
This wasn't intended to be a walkthrough demo. That would require a significantly more longer period of time. But hopefully I introduced some concepts of basic NLP. Yes, Professor Srikran. I hope we introduced some concepts of NLP so that you could get started on your own conversational AI journey.
Yeah. No, I definitely think it's a very cool and interesting subject, and I hope people really look into it further. It's going to become so common that we use NLP in our day-to-day life. It would be
pretty much, yeah,
very, very interesting. I mean, it already is. Like, it's a day-to-day thing in my life every day. I mean, it started with Siri, right? I think that was the first that like everyone started using Siri, like from the OG days of like the original iPhone, and then it went from Siri to the Samsung. Everyone started having NLP integrated into their phones, and it's so common we use it. So I think it's really important that we know how to build with NLP, and using tools like Dasha to make our life easier is really what it comes down to. But yeah, folks, thank you so much for joining us on this stream. I really hope you learned something.
That's wild right now, but yeah.
Huh? What?
Talking to a robot as a... I mean, join Blahaj Gang, make friends.
I mean, yeah, more friendos at Blahaj Gang. There you go. Karan, you did the classic. You gotta plug in Blahaj Gang somewhere.
When in doubt, plug Blahaj Gang. That's kind of the motto emanates at this point.
But yes, he's a big man. I was sarcastic. Are you sure? Because I mean, that's me. I have no friends. So if anyone wants to be friends, feel free to. But I am
offended.
It's okay. You're not my friend anyways. It's fine. I have said it on stream. All right, folks, there's a lot of digressing that we're going on here. So we're going to wrap it up, folks. Thank you so much for joining us. And we will share some cool resources in the Discord if anyone wants to check it out. Other like NLP based resources, CS50, so on and so forth. All right, talk soon.
Yeah.
And also one last thing is, I think Karan, you said you had a Dasha community where people can join a Discord or the
Pretty
community
much,
forum?
yes.
Okay.
So
and
there's
where can people
3
find
places where we have, there's really 2 real places where you can get to us super quickly, that I can get to our awesome engineers. And that is at community.dasha.ai. I'll drop a link in chat.
Perfect.
And thanks, Anuhya. And Twitter. Twitter is quintessential. You can always find us on Twitter. You can probably find
give
me
me
on
a
Twitter.
follow
I'm
on
one of the
Twitter,
people that-
by the way.
There you go. And you know what? Just for the heck of it,
Perfect.
and
I love that. Thank you. Thank you. That too.
there you go.
This one's not as important as this one, but this is the most important one that we're talking about right now. So wait, where is it?
Join us. He's gonna plug his Twitter. Too late. I already did.
But yes. All right, folks, thank you so much for joining us. And we hope to see you on the next stream. I think Fazia will be up presenting shortly after in a couple minutes.
One last thing.
Yes.
Since this is Local Hack Day, 2 things, honestly. First off, if you did not check into this event, go ahead and go check in. So it counts towards your streams. I believe there's a count, right? It's been a while since I've done Local Hack Day.
Yes.
Yeah, and second, if you want to build, if you're trying to build something with Dasha for LHD, you know, I am on Twitter at Srikaran in the MLH server. Anuhya, could you pull up my name card so people can see the spelling?
Your name card. Yes. It should show it. I don't know why it's not. Hang on.
There we go. Pro Coach Anuhya Salagunda.
Calm down.
There we go.
Oh yes.
Yeah. Honestly, at this point, I should probably just rename myself to SKX RXN on Discord as well. You know what? I'm going to do that right now. So you can find me at SKX RXN on Discord. Yeah, and hit me up if you need AKA, can't spell it at all. Pretty much. But yeah, so hit me up if you need any help. I would be happy. I would be more than happy to kind of walk you through everything.
Yep. Absolutely, folks. And thank you so much. And like I said, Fazia will be on in a couple minutes. Actually, she'll be on in less than an hour, or in the hour. But yes, and you get to hack with Fazia. I don't know what she has planned, but I'm sure it's exciting. Have a good one, folks, and talk soon. Bye.